All right, what up? We're back again. Race Brain, HYROX Rundown. It's your boy, Matt Mason. And today on the show, we've got the voice of HYROX, Greg from RocksLife. We've got the statistician of all things hybrid. We've got Jack Bauer. Fellas, how we doing today?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
You know, Greg, I'm always doing better when you join the show, to be honest.
Yeah, Matt, I'm doing pretty good. I'm wearing my Patriot shirt. You know, it's a team championship event, so I figure might as well bring
That's
out
right. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Patriots, baby. As Jack just mentioned, today we are talking all things Elite 15 doubles. This is your Race Brain preview show. What better way to bring you all that you need to know about Elite 15 doubles than the voice of HYROX and the statistician of HYROX? I mean, y'all, we're going to have takes today. We're going to have cold, hard facts. We're going to have expert analysis. Greg probably knows what these people ate for breakfast. I don't even know. I don't even know if we've had you on since the LCQ, Greg. Did we have you on since the LCQ?
Top 5.
It's all these episodes are running.
Yeah,
sorry, we did do a top five post.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have not
got 100%
listened
on it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. If you have not listened to Greg over at the RocksLife do a HYROX broadcast, I'm telling you, you're missing out. Go back and watch the LCQs. I know you all are going to watch the World Championships again because these races are going to be electric. And if Greg's on the mic, he's like, for all my soccer fans out there, he's like the Peter Drury of HYROX. I know Greg likes that reference. All my friends in the UK will as well. Greg, I do have one question before we get going. Our long national nightmare is over. Our Tottenham Hotspur have lifted a trophy. How are you feeling?
I know. So good. So good. Champions League finished 17th in the league.
17th, but we don't care, baby. We don't care. We've got more history than Arsenal. That's all that matters. Did you go to the parade?
No, I didn't go to the parade. No. I just I watched it around like my brother's house because we're all Spurs fans in our family, except for one Arsenal fan.
But you have an Arsenal fan in the family.
Yeah. Well, like my younger brother is an Arsenal fan. Just to be
have you
annoying,
have you just been all up in his business the last 6 days?
Yeah.
Jack is so lost right now. We might as well be talking about shoes.
I'm well aware.
Might as well be talking about shoes.
I respect football, not soccer, right? Yeah. No, I played for 10 years. I'm aware of the teams. I just don't follow it competitively anymore.
All you need to know is the lads went to Bilbao and we brought home a trophy. Greg, actually, one of my best friends decided last minute, bought a plane ticket for 54 hours, traveled over to Bilbao, saw them win, and then traveled back. He might still be drunk, if I'm being honest.
Amazing.
But just scenes. It was just limbs everywhere. So Greg and I are riding high. Jack is riding high just on life because,
got the day off from work.
Yeah, I got a day off of work. It's a holiday here in the States. All right. Enough Tottenham Hotspur talk because I could make this a podcast about that in and of itself. We are going to talk about the Elite 15 doubles, both men's and women's. For the sake of time, just going to let everybody know this ahead of time. We are not going to go as in depth on each and every team like we do for the solos. This is a combined episode, men and women. We do not have time to talk through 30 teams. And I don't think any of you want to listen to a 3-hour podcast. This is not the Joe Rogan experience. So what we are going to do is we're going to talk about the teams in 4 categories. We're going to talk about who could win. We're going to talk about who could podium. Then we're going to talk about dark horses, people that you should watch out for. And then everyone else will be rest of field. I want to be very, very clear because there's a lot of sensitivity right now in the age of social media. A lot of people getting their feelings hurt. This is no disrespect. If you are in the rest of field category, you are still an Elite 15 doubles athlete. You are still better than every single one of us talking heads on this show. We have nothing but respect for you. It's just the reality of the situation that we're in. And it's just a time constraint. So this is no disrespect to those athletes. It is an honor to be here. First and foremost, before we get in, did y'all see the payouts? Oh, go ahead, Jack.
I just wanted to add that or just interrupt you right there. So have we got to the point where that's kind of just implied? Like, do we really need to address that every single time? every other professional sport out there, that's just what commentators and people in media do. Like the HYROX is growing really fast, and guess what? Some people are going to get their feelings hurt by what people have to say, but just deal with it from now on. That's just what happens.
Jack Bauer, speaking truth to power. I agree, Jack, but you know what? It goes without saying.
You won't catch me saying that, Matt. I'm spitting facts.
All right, it's the last time I'm saying it. Facts don't care about feelings. Facts don't care about feelings. Before we get in, did you all see the prize money that was announced for the Elite 15 doubles?
Not yet.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
it's good.
Sent it
it's good.
It's good.
Oh, go ahead, Greg.
Well, it's good. I won't name the person that sent me it, but they were, I think, a little unhappy that it was going to top 5 only, whereas I think for the solos, like everyone gets some prize money by being just in the field, whereas for the doubles, it's top 5 only. So I think they were a little bit annoyed with that fact.
And then it gets divided by 2, I imagine, after. Like if it's
that was gonna be my question for Greg. Is it divided by 2 or is it per person? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I wasn't sent it by HYROX, so I don't know.
Matt, let's hear the numbers.
Yeah, so the numbers are in 5th place. If you come in 5th, you will receive $1,000. In 4th place, you'll receive $3,000. In 3rd place, $5,000. 2nd place, $10,000. These are all USD, by the way. And in 1st place, $12,000. I would imagine that is probably split, but I would encourage everybody to remember this is the first year they've done this. I think like it was a little bit of an experiment. There wasn't even money announced up until recently. We know there's money now. I would imagine that next year it's going to be more. And Greg, keep me honest, Jack, you too. First couple of years, they didn't pay out past 5th or 6th place in the elite races. That's like within the last 1 or 2 years that they've paid all the way down to 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I get it. People are, I'm sure people are always upset about something, but it's like, at least we got money. Like, this is pretty impressive. They're paying out 30 grand to the winner of the solos, 12 grand to the winner of the teams on both sides, men and women's. And then what was I know the relays, that money got announced too. Does anybody know what the winner gets for that? Last year it was 25 grand.
25 or 20 last year.
Yeah, it's like 20 or 25 last year. So I'd imagine it's similar this year. I mean, HYROX is paying money. They're paying money, and they've been paying money all year long. And no disrespect, unlike some brands, I hear they're timely with their payments. I hear that money's getting set.
Wow. Yeah, good for them. I think this kind of sets the tone heading into next season that at a minimum, I can't imagine they're going to go backwards in this as they continue to push doubles or pro doubles or world championship. And that's worth a second race in a weekend, or maybe prioritizing it if that's the only way that you're making it in. Some good money.
For sure. Great money. I mean, this is a sign of a healthy sport. I was listening to the good folks over at RMR Talk, and Meg was saying that, she wished that it was a little bit bigger, but Rich brought up the point of like, unlike CrossFit, HYROX pays out at every single major. So these are pretty decent payouts, given that they had paid at every major. I'm pretty sure someone fact checked me on this, but I think if you won all 4 majors, or let's say you're Lauren Weeks, because she won 3. If you won 3 majors, got 2nd place, and then you win worlds, I think you're approaching, I don't think it's quite this, but I think you're getting close to a 6-figure paycheck from racing.
Did they announce solo amount? I haven't seen that.
That's it's $30,000 for the winner
this year. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So I think, Greg, do you remember what the payouts were for winning the majors?
I'm just looking. I think it's $7,500 for first, 5 for second, and 3.5 for third.
7.5 for first.
Yeah.
So basically, 30,000 divided by 4 because there are 4 majors.
Yeah, 30,000. Okay, so 60.
You could make 66 if you sweep everything, including doubles, and then a little more with relay. But that's a phenomenal effort if you pull that off.
Yeah. Okay. So you're at a place. We went from no money a few years ago to, if you're Lauren or Meg or JK, you could potentially make 50 to 60 grand just racing, not including sponsorships and podium bonuses and everything else that comes with it. I mean, we're not that far off from the top end of the sport making 6-figure salaries on racing.
Well, Greg, didn't you kind of highlight that in your article when you were talking about like careers?
Yeah. The like the survey that I've done of the Elite 15 like shows that there's far more now than there have been in previous years. Like either in the fitness industry, coaching, or just full-time athlete now. And really, yeah, that's presumably been made possible by the sponsorship and the prize money and everything like that. And almost maybe like it's something that they've had to do to be able to do the training volume to compete at this level as well. But yeah, there's certainly fewer in just like your typical full-time office job or something like that anymore.
Yeah, head on over to rockslife.com. Read the article. What's the when did you post that, Greg?
Yesterday, I put up, so Sunday night, I put up an Instagram post about it. It's called "How Strong and Fast Are the Elite 15?"
Oh, okay.
Good.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, yeah. So if you go to rockslife.com and then the very first newsletter, How Fast and Strong Are the HYROX Elite 15, you can find that in there. Head on over, support our friend.
If
Greg's supporting us, we got to support him.
If you want to know
Go
how
read it.
5K, 10K, deadlift, squat, all those PRs for the Elite 15 athletes, you'll find out.
Oh, yeah, this is interesting. He's also got everyone's sporting background, which I think is fascinating. Just noticing this right off the jump. Emily Dahman played field hockey.
Mm-hmm.
We got a couple people that played field hockey, I feel like. And then you've got Rylan, who has literally done everything under the
7
sun.
lines of his athletics.
Everything.
He's an
everything
athlete,
under the sun. Oh, we got some good information in here. We got job occupation, we got running times. This is good stuff. Head on over to rockslife.com. Like and subscribe. Get the newsletter. Let's read it. All right. Let's go ahead and hop in here. We're going to start with the women. I'm going to go ahead and read the top 15 teams. Give me a moment on the women because we've got a bit of an update for you all after we go through it. I'm just going to read them as it shows up on the HYROX website. 15th seed, Zoe O'Meara, Taryn Sharp, 3rd place out of Melbourne. 14th, Meg Martin and Madison Briggs, 2nd place out of Melbourne. Nicola Georgia Macbeth, Gabrielle Nakora Baker, 1st place out of Melbourne. 12th, Chris Rogloski, Katie Simonson, the HYROX Rundown live stream Miami team, taking 3rd in Miami. 11th, Elena Ruka-Chaz and Morgan Scholes, Houston, 3rd place. And 10th, Bridget Brown, Tara Jackson, Miami, 2nd place. 9th, Jess Petro, Maria Fetchik, Miami, 1st place. In 8th, this should be, I believe. Oh, no, this one is the Van den Lindenloof. So 8th, Margot Van den Lindenloof and Charlotte Van den Lindenloof, Paris, 3rd place. 7th, Sika Arning, Rebecca Frank, Paris, 2nd place. In 6th, Kate Davey and Zara Piergiani, 3rd place, London. 5th, Meg Jacoby, Camila Massa, London, 2nd place. And then 4th, Lucy Proctor, Sinead Bent, London, 1st place with a 55-52. 3rd, Linda Meier, Viola Oberlander, 55-39. 2nd, Lauren Weeks, Lauren Griffith, Houston, 2nd place, 55-36. And your number 1 seed on the women's side, the greatest female athlete of all time, Tia-Clair and Joanna Wettrick, taking 1st in Houston with a 54-24. It should be noted that based on some conversations, I'm not going to take credit for breaking this news, that Greg had. So again, if you want to stay up to date on all the latest information, check our friends out over at the RocksLife. Greg has good reason to believe that not all of the Melbourne teams are going to be coming over, and it'll actually roll down, we think, or Greg believes, to the 5th place spot in Melbourne, which was Emily Amris and Libby Carr. And then the 7th place spot in Melbourne, Sammy Sheehan and Katie Brock. So why don't we start there? I guess in fairness to these athletes, the 14th and the 15th spot on the women's side are that's probably where they'd wind up in this pro doubles race, if we had to guess. And if they are not paying, and we know that HYROX is not covering travel, that's a long flight. Presumably that's a long flight. And even though you're going backwards, I believe, because I work in the same time zone as Chicago, and our Sydney office, I believe, is 20 hours ahead of us. It's either 20 or 21 hours ahead. So you're going back in time 20 to 21 hours. You're probably traveling 30 to 40 hours.
No, it's not, Matt.
What do you mean?
It's 3:22 right now a.m. So it's 16.
What time? It depends on where they live.
Sydney.
You don't know that they live
in lot. Yeah.
But you don't know that they live in Sydney.
All right. Unless it's Perth, they're probably on the east.
Yeah.
Sorry
so somewhere in Australia, it could be as little as 18 hours. It could be as much as 20 hours. You're right. I might be thinking of New Zealand. The way to keep me honest, Jack. First
That's what I do. Spitting fact. I don't care about your feelings.
So I'll just ask this question before we start to get into the times. Are we getting to the point where HYROX they've clearly got money because they've got sponsors and they're paying money out? What's the better experience in your all's opinion? I'm curious to hear from both of you. I don't actually have an opinion on this one way or the other, but I'm curious to see what you guys think. What is the better experience? HYROX paying out to 15th or treating them like professional athletes and covering their costs so that the best of the best do wind up at the race?
Well, let's say you're the 12th place team with Chris Rogloski, where it's $100 flight each way to get to Chicago from Denver, versus Australia, which might be $1,500 for your flight. It's a completely different investment, so you might feel a little robbed there. But
next year it's not going to be in World Championships won't presumably be in the U.S. next year, so it'll even out over time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would be a big ask to fly all the teams because that's basically 60 doubles athletes plus another 30 solo athletes. You're covering 90 flights, hotels, whatever. Potentially, it's a big investment, and that might take a little bit off the top for some of the prize money. So, I like the race and win type of strategy. Realistically, like you show up, you can make more than you would have to cover your travel, but in prize money. That's just how I would look at it.
So you think they should pay down?
Yeah.
Greg?
Yeah, I agree. Just get something to contribute towards the travel. But yeah, like I think if you start paying for everyone's flights and covering different distances and things like that, it just gets complicated. So I think in the individuals, I think it's like $500 that they get as a minimum. So like something like that, that they can get. I mean, I guess like one argument HYROX might have is like they're making significant investment in these live streams and the quality of them and everything like that, which then brings about sponsorship opportunities and all those kinds of things. So that the coverage that they're getting these athletes in the Elite 15, they can likely make more than that $500 of their own accord. But yeah, it would be nice to see them get something.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's go ahead and start with the category who could win. Greg, I'm going to kick this off to you. On the women's side, who's the first team that sticks out to you as a team that could win?
I think we've got to start with the record holders, Tia-Clair Toomey and Joanna. Like the time that they set, the performance that they did was amazing. I'll admit I hadn't probably expected that. I didn't really like. Obviously, Tia is the GOAT, but at the same time, like I didn't think that she had that time in a doubles race. Yeah, like I didn't think she had the running speed to be able to do that, and to turn up and do that was incredibly impressive. And they beat on the day Lauren Weeks and Lauren Griffith as well by over a minute. So I found that an incredibly impressive performance that I hadn't expected. And I think that, that certainly makes them one of the favorites.
Yeah, no disagreement for me. I would say that they smashed the world record and they won. We do know that Lauren Griffith wasn't at the top of her game that day. She was dealing with some stomach issues and whatnot, but you're right. I mean, a minute 12. I mean, that's an emphatic victory. And that's the first time they've raced together. Now, I think the advantage that they probably have over the field, because, we do know that teamwork matters a lot in doubles. We've even, heard Rich talk about Yeah, him and Palau just show up to race together, but you can see that in the sense of the way they do their sandbag handoff and all of that. Joanna has been in the States now, I believe, for over a month. She came over, I think, mid-April, but it was like either a week or two before Atlanta. She's still here. She's training down in Nashville at Team Proven headquarters. They've been doing this HYROX training camp with Tia and James Newbury and JK and Jess Petro's down there and presumably others. So to me, that makes them even more scary because they've just spent so much time together, training together. If there was one question about their ability to win, just to play the devil's advocate here, it will be Joanna's third race of the weekend. And there's a lot of controversy over this and debate. Does it matter? Does it not? Is it going to affect them? Is it not? I think the only, that's a different answer for everybody. There are probably some athletes that think that doesn't matter. They are professional athletes. There are probably some people who it does affect. We have seen multiple people decide that they're not going to participate in multiple races because they feel like they know themselves. So for Joanna, it'll be her third race of the weekend. For Tia, it'll be her second race of the day. Now, that being said, Tia is probably full stop the greatest female athlete that the world has ever seen, from a 7-time CrossFit Games champion. She's a 2-time Olympian. The work rate and capacity is not going to be a problem, but she is going to race.
Recover.
She can recover. So if there's anyone in the world who can do it and who I wouldn't bet against, it's Tia, just so we're clear. But that being said, she is going to race with James Newbury. The provisional start times are out. They're in your wave, Jack, or in your age group. So probably sometime between 2 to 2:30. And so you got to think they're going to race. It's going to take them 53 to 55 minutes. They'll be done somewhere between 3 and 3:30. But then she's only got, I don't know if the start time is out for the doubles, but I think women are first.
Doubles.
Yeah, but I think the women are first. And I think it's probably got to be around
o'clock, I'd say.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So she's going to have less than 4 hours of recovery after putting out a max effort. And then she's going to have to put out a probably more of an effort because, yes, Joanna is very strong, but she's not going to have the benefit of James kind of smashing stations, although she doesn't really need anyone to smash stations for her. That would be the question mark on them if there was any. I think that they're pretty bulletproof, but you do have to factor in third race for Joanna, second in 4 hours for Tia.
I would say that the Laurens, that's their biggest competition, and Lauren Weeks is also having the same exact schedule as Joanna. So then it comes down to Tia versus Lauren Griffith. Lauren Griffith also running the elite solo race. So you've got a bunch of tired legs at that point. I still think those two teams are probably the heavy favorites to go 1 and 2. But in my opinion, I think that Tia having a smaller role, she doesn't have to do the full 60 or so minutes. I know she's getting the more intense races first, which usually isn't the way you want to go, by doing the relay and then a doubles same day. But I feel like there's going to just be a little bit more fatigue on the Lauren side.
Yeah, doubles. Yeah. I just looked. Doubles is women's doubles is first, and according to the website, the start time is 6:20. So Greg, they typically do, you guys have 30 minutes of broadcast before the race. So it's probably 7. Women will probably race at 7. So she's going to have she won't quite have 4 hours to recover because she'll have to start warming up again. So she's going to have about 2.5 to 3.5 hours to recover before going all out again.
But I think I'm right in saying she did do that in Atlanta, right? As practice, her and James raced twice, an hour apart. So
yes, they did. Okay, so here's an interesting thought exercise for the panel. I'd be interested to hear from both of you. And I don't think it matters because we are, like I said, I think we're talking about. I agree they're heavy favorites regardless of the circumstances. But what would you rather do? Race, then take a quick break and, you know, kind of keep your body moving and race again, or race and then have 3 hours of downtime where you could potentially get, you know, stiff, soreness starts to set in, like you completely come down before you ramp back up.
I personally would rather the time. I would still rather the rest, the ice, the food, everything like that.
Something happens when you go to bed and then have to get up and do it again the next day. It's like, oh God,
That's true.
Greg, you probably did this in your track meets. You know, it's something else. Just double me during the meet, and then I'll find a way to get it done. But if you ask me to do it day 2, it's not as fun. You can do it, but just get it over with the same day.
Yeah, I agree. Heavy favorites, no matter the circumstances, but there is always that chance. Jack, hit us with your number 2 team that you think falls in that who could win category.
I mean, it's got to be the Laurens. Even on a day in which Lauren Griffith was struggling on the runs, as you mentioned, they still had the second fastest qualifying time. I know that doesn't necessarily matter, but they were a minute 12 behind Joanna and Tia. If you look at their zones, they were actually 49 seconds faster than Tia and Joanna, the Laurens were. And you get that running back in place. I think that they'll have a chance of actually going almost wire to wire, the two of them in a battle. I can't necessarily pick a winner at the moment, but I think that it's going to be a lot closer than we saw in Houston.
Yeah, I remember, I believe Anthony Parasini said right around the time that it happened on a podcast that they kind of trained through it. Like Lauren Griffith, was in the middle of a training block. She actually ran a race the next day. So didn't necessarily taper into it. And, you know, it was a hard week of training. There's no reason to think that they don't put it together. I mean, despite the fact that, I mean, they were pretty open about this. They stopped for 45 seconds in the rock zone at one point, and they were only 30 seconds off the world record prior to Tia and Joanna beating it. So, you know, they were a world record pace, they're a world record threat team. And I just, as much as I wouldn't bet against Tia recovering, I would never bet against Lauren Weeks in a championship race.
It's her sport.
Yeah, Tia might be the GOAT when it comes to just female
fitness
athletes. Yeah, when it comes to fitness. But Lauren Weeks is the GOAT of HYROX, might be the GOAT, men or women. And so I'm never going to bet against Lauren Weeks' ability to race. And she coaches, or at least I think co-coaches Lauren Griffith with Anthony. So there's also just that friendship, that bond that we know that matters in a race. They're definitely going to be a problem and a real threat to. I don't think it's going to be. It was a minute 12 in Houston. I would be shocked if that's the margin at World Championships.
Over or under 10 wall ball difference. Like one person's at 90 when the other crosses at 100. What do you think?
Greg, what do you think?
Under.
Yeah, I think under 2. I think it's going to come. I think it's going to come down to. I think it's going to be a wall ball off, in my opinion.
And imagine if we get Tia versus Lauren in a wall ball off. That's just best of your world, best of our world. Let's see how that goes.
And then it comes down to no reps and things like that as well. We saw at the LCQ just how many no reps some of them people were getting. And it's big.
In the teens or 20s.
Yeah. So it really could come down to that. And I should say, I don't think it's just these two teams as well. I think there's some that are probably close to them, are going to be closer than maybe we think,
with less workload heading in also.
Yeah. If there was a question, again, just to be fair, I already know my friend Anthony is going to roll his eyes when he hears this. If there was a question, it's going to be Lauren's third race of the weekend. I will say the same thing I would say about Tia. It was going to be Joanna's third race too. So there's that. But I think if anyone can handle it, Lauren can. I mean, this is the same person who set the fastest time ever by a woman in Glasgow, got on a flight, flew to Houston, and 2 days later dropped this exact time that we're talking about. And they just, volume is what they do at the hybrid engine. So I mean, I think the likelihood that it's a factor is low. But there's still, it's World Championship weekend. The stress is higher. I mean, stress is stress. Stress is higher. The media engagements are strong. They're probably not going to get a ton of sleep. But it's one weekend. So, and then, with Lauren Griffith, it's kind of the same thing that we talked about in the solo preview of, it's going to be a hard race. I mean, Lauren races hard, Lauren Griffith races hard, but Lauren Weeks is the queen of racing hard. So again, I don't think that either one of those is a likely scenario and going to impact them necessarily. But if there was a question, I think that would be it for both of them.
And Lauren Griffith gets a full day off also.
Yep.
So that works in their favor.
I don't think that they take full days off at the hybrid engine. I'm pretty sure
that's going to be a move so rigor mortis doesn't set in.
We'll see her. We'll see her on a bike, I'm sure, in the venue, at the very least, or she might be running laps outside. All right, I've got another team that I think I'm going to put in the who could win category. I actually don't think that we should discount Linda Meier and Viola. That Paris race, Linda looked like an animal. I mean, that was one of the most impressive races that I've ever seen Linda do. And we talked about it on this show about Viola even admitted after the fact that she was holding, this is not being disrespectful, she was holding Linda back. And that is what it looked like when you watched it. I mean, Linda was just like a caged animal, just like trying to go. And, Viola has had a tough season health-wise and opened up about it a little bit more after she failed to qualify at the LCQ. But I do think that she's on the right side of health now. And she's, in her build back. And I think that it is going to be an advantage of, Viola is a top tier competitor. I think that she is, spoiler alert, we're going to do top 10 HYROX athletes after the season. Greg, I hope you join us for that of all time. I think Viola is in that top 5 female athletes of all time in HYROX. I mean, she is a competitor and she's coming over for this race. I think this is she did not get selected for Team Germany for the relay, correct? It's Sika and
Linda.
And Linda. Yeah, it's Sika and Linda. So this is Viola's only race. She's got this one circled. She's going to be ready for it. And I think that, if it's, again, this is unlikely, but if Tia, Joanna, and Lauren, if they all crack each other, which could happen, we could have carnage at the front. If they crack each other, this team is going to be close enough, I think, at the wall balls that they could win. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
And just think of how team races go. You've got like ebbs and flows. Sometimes you're going to make up 10 seconds on a zone. You might throw in a surge on a run. Like, look at how Linda has raced in the majors this year. She's just had those ups and downs at various points in the races. And then she seemed to put it together towards the end of the season. I think she's an animal, like you mentioned, but Viola also, she went 102.07 in Berlin. I know it's a fast course, but I feel like she's getting healthy at the right time. Also, they're going to be a dangerous team.
And it's worth noting that despite the fact that she hasn't had the solo season that she's wanted from a performance perspective, she has run some very fast doubles times this season in the mixed doubles, which is relevant because it's the same weights as she's going to be racing. So these are her mixed doubles times from this season. She ran all season with Peter Schiller. So in Frankfurt, they ran a 54.34. Then in Vienna, they ran a 54.29. And then in Berlin, they ran a 52.38. And then she's got that 55.39 with Linda. So she's got that top end. It's kind of the same thing we said about Bo. You can't fake a 52.38. So, I mean, even if it was a fast course in Berlin, fast or not, she still had to run those run times. So she's got that that next gear. I think if I were just to be intellectually honest, if there was a question mark for this team, like we've done for the first two, doubles is a running race. And I think the question mark for this team specifically would be, do they have the running ability or the top end running to keep pace with Tia, Joanna, and Lauren? I think that would be the question.
I think that's fair. The only thing I'd add about Viola is, like, since Barcelona, she's known that this is probably her priority, and so that you would change your training if you're focused solely on doubles. Just doing maybe a bit more VO2 max work rather than threshold and things like that. Like, knowing that, I think, can be an advantage. So if she was holding back Linda in Paris, like, to change your training, improve your health and things over time, but change your training, focus purely on doubles, I think that can only be a benefit as well.
And to add on, just Matt, you mentioned many mixed doubles performances with Peter Schiller. Is she going to race that race a few hours earlier, just like Tia and James Newbury? So suddenly she could go from the fresh one to, oh man, I'm a little bit tired and have to run your second race of the day.
I don't know. Let's ask Mr. HYROX himself. Do you have any insight? Are they going to race?
No, I don't know. I should find that out.
She did make a comment about how Peter was there for her all season and racing with her. So I would not be surprised if they did. However, to Greg's point, if this is your only race of the weekend and you feel like you're a favorite or you have a shot and there's money on the line, maybe you forego it. I'm actually kind of curious to see, there's quite a few athletes who have qualified in the mixed doubles. Like, I know, as an example, Pelayo and Elena Rukachaz qualified, and I know that they're not racing together because they are both focused on Elite 15 doubles. I believe that Morgan Scholes qualify with Alexander Rakovic. I don't know if they're going to race. I would think that they would forego it, but we'll see. Okay. So that is our top three who we all think are people who could win. I will ask the panel, are there any other teams that we think could win?
I would say Lucy Proctor and Sinead Bent. Like, they won in London against a very strong field. Like, they beat Megan and Camilla, Kate and Zara. They beat the Van der Lindenloofs. They did it in like a time of 55:52 on, I don't think it was like a crazy quick course or anything like that in reality. And like, just purely think, like, it wasn't that great a surprise as well. Like, if I think about those two athletes, like, they're very, very quick runners. Like, the stations aren't necessarily their strong point. I think, like, over 5K, for example, Sinead is the quickest in this women's field. Like, she's got a 16:35K sort of time. So I think it would be wrong to overlook them two as well.
Yeah, she's just emerged this year. And I mean, Lucy Proctor, obviously fantastic runner. It's the same exact story. It's like, how tired are they going to be from all the races leading into it? I'm sure Sinead is going to be able to access a speed faster than pretty much everybody else on tired legs. Realistically, like, if you're a sub 17 female, even if you become a high 17 female when you're a little fatigued, that's still top of the class realistically. So they're going to be dangerous. And they were only about 15 seconds behind the two teams that we mentioned beforehand. And Sinead is on a roll. Lucy's as confident as anybody. I agree with you. They could win.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that Lauren Weeks might give Sinead a run for her money on the 5K, only because she just ran a 17:02 in a DecaFit, and that was obviously broken up. That was obviously broken up by stations. So, but the point stands. Sinead and Lucy can run. And that is, I mean, the doubles is a running race. I agree. I think that they will, I think I agree that they're in the category of who could win. I think they would probably need some help. I think that it would need to be that those top three teams, it's like such a dogfight that they wind up, we wind up having carnage at the top because they're just pushing so hard. And I think that there's also the element of, this is World Championships. It'll be their second race for both of them. Although Lucy Proctor has run 4 races in a weekend and is still blazing fast. So it's clearly not going affect her. And Sinead seems to have, as like the pressure has gotten higher or turned up, she seems to perform better. So there is a chance that that happens. But that would be, I think, the question for them is, will the moment get to them? Only they can answer that. Time will tell. We're going to get to find out for ourselves here in 2 short weeks.
I've got some stats for you though. Okay.
Stats, man. We've been waiting. It only took 40 minutes in the episode to get some stats. Let's get them.
So those are some of two of the faster runners, and I don't think that they're going to be picking people off. I think that they're going to be in it from the start, realistically, just because their running is going to put them in that position. If we look at that London race, we had Meg and Camilla in first and second against Lucy and Sinead. Who do you think was faster on sled pull?
Lucy and Sinead.
By 9 seconds. Or sled push by 9 seconds. And they were only 3 seconds behind them in sled pull. Camilla and Meg are 2 of the best in the sport at sled pull, and they're basically matching them and have some of the best running in the field. I think they're going to reach burpees and could potentially be in the lead. I know it sounds crazy, but
crystal ball. We got a crystal ball out. HYROX rundown. We'll have to look back in 3 weeks and see if that was a right prediction. Greg, you were going to jump in on that.
The only other thing I was going to add on these two is, like, we're recording this on the Monday. Like, the England team hasn't been announced yet for the relay. I would guess those two are 2 of the favourites to be in that relay team. So there's a chance that they're going to have like a lot of racing to do this weekend as well. Maybe not, but we'll see.
Is anybody racing once besides Marcus and Dawson? Probably.
I don't know. We haven't gotten to the men yet, but are the Sutherlands are they gonna do individuals, or are they just gonna focus on? Do you know, Greg? Are they gonna focus on doubles?
Who are you talking about? Sorry,
the Sutherlands. No, the Sutherlands on the men's side.
I think they're just doing doubles.
Okay, interesting. So it seems like on the women's side, a lot of tired individuals showing up to this team race.
It's gonna be interesting. Yep. Yeah, I like the Lucy and Sinead pick, and I think that the last team that I would say has a chance to win, and then unless you guys have anyone else that you think could win, Meg Jacoby is still the reigning world champion and one of the fastest, strongest athletes out there. On top of that, Camila Massa is arguably one of the most dedicated athletes out there. And similarly to the Viola argument, this is the race that she's doing. She is going to be she's the captain for Team Italy, so she is going to do the relay, but I don't think that that's going to affect her in the same way the people who are doing the solos. I think I could be wrong. So I'm not 100% on this. I don't know if Camila is going to do age group or not. I think I saw a post where she said that she was going to, so I'm not 100% sure, but like, I think this is the race that she has scheduled circled based on the training that she's been posting. It seems like she's doing, to Greg's point, it seems like she's doing a lot more VO2 work as opposed to threshold work. Like, she's doing a lot of like, she posted a workout the other day. She was doing compromised running where she was doing 400s, which is tough. If you've ever done a compromised running workout with 400s, it's not enough time to flush your legs before you're back into a station. So she does seem to be training that top end. And again, like, it's Meg Jacoby. If Meg is healthy, she's a top 2 athlete in the sport, potentially number 1 on the day. It just depends on who has their day. So it's really hard for me to bet against a former world champion and a very high level athlete who has this race circled.
And they're also good friends, so that communication is going to go a long way. Realistically, I know they're not together, and I guess you mentioned Rich and Pelayo, good friends, but don't train together. But they have run a couple times. I feel like they're going to communicate well when someone needs a break.
All right, Greg, any thoughts on that team? It's okay if not.
Not a lot to add, really. No, like I think I think if you think of like the pure runners, like Megan is obviously a great runner. Camilla isn't necessarily like someone that I would like pigeonhole as like perfect for doubles. It like probably suited more to the singles race, but they did well in London. Good time, a lot of travel involved, like for them. So I certainly wouldn't count them out. I think they've got a shout, but I think I'd put some of the others that we've mentioned as more favourites over them two at the moment.
Yeah, agreed. All right, do we agree that's probably all of the teams that we think in the who could win category?
Who could win? Yeah.
Oh, Greg's got one.
Greg, tell us.
Well, it's only like we're sort of straddling the line between could win and podium but like Kate Davey and Zara Piergiani, I'd rather just say that they could win in case they turned up and did win and we left them out.
Well, we're going to go to the podium level.
Yeah,
they were
the pro doubles winners last year at the World Championships, and I know it's different this year with these teams partnering up, but they've done it before. They were both part of the England relay team that won last year, so I know it's a different race, but it is still very high paced, and so that like they're used to that type of work. Like things like Kate's work on the burpees is only going to stand them in good stead in the doubles race. Zara's incredible at lunges, for example. I don't think Kate in particular was 100% healthy in London. Like I think she just wouldn't have raced if it was a singles, or if it wasn't going to be sort of letting Zara down. She wouldn't have raced.
Running for what, like 2 weeks at that point from the injury.
I think it was more like an illness, like some sort of stomach bug or something like that going on at the time. So it wasn't even the running side of things that was the problem. So yeah, I think they did well, like all things considered. So I'd be uncomfortable about leaving them out of a conversation of potential winners. But I agree, like we've talked about 5 other partnerships, so like I've got those other 5 as bigger favourites than Kate and Zara, but I do still think that they could win.
I will add, though, it took a roll down for them to even make the Chicago field. Like if the Van den Lindenloof sisters weren't in or didn't already race in Paris, they would have got 3rd place in London, and they beat them head to head by over 20 seconds. I know Kate had her situation, but I feel like if you're a 3rd seed from a race, you're probably not a favorite to win. Like I could see them podiuming if Kate's healthy. Her running, Zara's performed for years, like one of the best in the sport. I just don't see them winning.
Oh, I gotta think that both of them have also a strong chance of being selected for that England relay team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, if I'm Jake Dearden, like one of the things that you got to ask yourself, like you just mentioned it yourself, Greg, Zara has some of the best lunge ability of any elite athlete, men or women, and that could be a weapon in the relay race.
Kate on burpees.
You could have Kate on burpees because you got to think. I mean, I have no idea who they're going to pick. If I was Dearden, I would pick Jake Williamson to handle the ergs. And then, I would imagine that Dearden would take a sled, and then I don't know what else he would take. But yeah, I mean, Kate for burpees or Zara for lunges, or one of them for wall balls because they both have unbroken wall balls. I mean, one of them could wind up in the relay race as well. I'm with you, Greg. I think that this is probably the last team that I would say they're kind of straddling the line for me of they could win because they are close. They're good friends. They've raced together a lot, which I think matters in the championship race. I'd probably put them on the lower end of the could win favorites. But it's possible. I think they're kind of like that 1B, 2A type ranking where it's like, they could go, I think it could go either way. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. And then I think, Kate seems like she's healthy. I know when she ran that London race, I hear your point, Jack, but it sounds like if she had a stomach bug, she'd only been running again for, I think it was like 2 weeks or less.
I'm just pointing it out.
No, I know. It's a fair, it's a fair remark. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, at that point now she's going to be 2 weeks or 2 months post.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. On to the category of who could podium on the women's side. I like the Van den Lindenloofs. They are they took second place, I believe, overall last year, to Kate and Zara at Worlds. Someone keep me honest if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they took second. They took first in their age group, and they raced well in Paris, and then they came back in that London race a little bit later, and they knocked off a minute. Now, again, I know that comparing times is silly, but in a race that had Kate and Zara and Meg and Camila and Sinead and Lucy, I mean, they only finished a second behind. I mean, granted, they weren't racing them head to head. They came from a later heat, but they only finished a second behind Meg and Camila. And they're sisters. So, like, you want to talk about synergy and like knowing the other person and their strengths and their weaknesses, and they've raced together a lot. Like, I mean, you could say dark horse, but I don't really think they're a dark horse. I think if you're not respecting the Van den Lindenloofs, you're making a mistake. I think that they're going to be a problem.
Yeah, and just to add to your point about London, they're in a later wave. Like, I think that makes that performance all the more impressive. Like, to be able to, they weren't in a race really. Like, granted, maybe they knew what time they were going for by that point, but to be able to put that time in, when they're not chasing down Lucy and Sinead and Meg and Camilla, I think it makes it all the more impressive. Like, if they had been in the race, it would have been really interesting to see where they finished.
And let's not forget, we finally saw Margot make her debut, and she dropped a 101.37 in a solo race after doing a bunch of age group and team races in the past. Charlotte's not too slow either, a 65.39. So two of them, that could be a dangerous combo, especially if they could potentially be the first name or first team that was mentioned that's going all in on teams and not getting themselves tired the whole weekend.
Yeah, but aren't they on Team Belgium for the relay?
Oh, that would make sense.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean, again, I think that the combo of a solo to a relay to a doubles is going to have an effect on people. I don't think relay into a doubles is going to affect people that bad. I mean, you're talking 12 to 15 minutes tops at, threshold. I don't think it's going to, these high level athletes, I don't think it's going to crush them. But yeah, I think watch out for the Van den Lindenloofs. I think that they're going to be a problem. All right, Jack, in the who could podium category, who do you got?
Honestly, those are probably the teams, in my opinion, that can podium. I think there are a lot of other good combinations of athletes, but I don't see someone past these teams making the podium.
Interesting. Greg?
I tend to agree, but if you push me for one name, I would say Sika Arnin and Rebecca Frank. Like, they finished second in Paris, 56.56. It's a pretty good time. Sika will be racing 3 races. She's in the German relay team. She's doing the singles. I don't know a huge amount about Rebecca, in all honesty. I think she's done a 105 in the pro. Maybe that was in Berlin. But that time, I think, and they beat the Van den Lindenloofs in Paris as well. It's worth adding. So I wouldn't have necessarily said before that race that, oh yeah, their podium potential. I wouldn't have said that they were going to beat the Van den Lindenloofs on that day, to be honest. But the fact that they did that makes me wonder whether they can do something.
Yeah, it looks like Rebecca has a 104.27 from Frankfurt. That might be her PR and a pro. And then she's raced with Sika quite a few times. It looks like so. Yeah, I go ahead, Jack.
I was just gonna say 15 of her 22 races are in doubles, so she understands the feeling probably as good as anybody. But yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree. But if you pushed me, I would pick a different team. And the team that I would pick is, I like Jess Petro and Maria Fecik. Jess Petro is, I think, maybe the most improved athlete this season in the women's field. And I think similar to the Camila Massa argument, Maria's got this race scheduled. She is captain of Team Canada, so she is going to do the relay. But same thing, like I don't think we saw Maria's best this year from a performance perspective. I think she even admitted that she didn't have the season that she wanted, especially coming out of Worlds last year. And I think that I would not bet against her being ready And I think that, yeah, you could probably, it doesn't sound like we would all agree on that. So you probably put them in dark horses, but if they snuck on that podium, like, wouldn't necessarily be shocked. They had a pretty impressive performance in Miami, given the race that they were in, and it wasn't exactly clean. And they even said so after the fact. So cleaned a couple of things up. I think they could be there. All right. Just for the sake of time, I think we'll just kind of name our dark horses. For me, the one that sticks out as an obvious dark horse, personally, would be Bridget Brown and Tara Jackson. It seems like, Tara Jackson is a very decorated DECA athlete. She is a pretty strong runner. That is her background. Bridget Brown as well. Jack probably can speak better to this team than I can, just given their back.
College soccer player at Oklahoma State. So D1.
Yeah, they are good athletes. They're good runners. They also did not run a clean race in Miami. Actually, we saw that their wall balls is the reason why they were able to get overtaken by Jess and Maria. But
4 minutes. Wow.
Yeah, they're going to be better at Worlds. This is the only race I believe that they're both doing. They've got this one circled. Same thing. Like, this is probably the first team that we've reached on the women's side that this is the first race that they're doing and maybe the only race that they're doing on the weekend. They are training for it and prepping for it. Tara Jackson is a world champion in DECA. Bridget Brown is an incredibly top tier. This is a strong team and definitely someone that people should watch out for. If there is carnage at the front, this team could work their way up.
Yeah, their rocks plus run split from that Miami race was 32-48 compared to most of the top teams that we mentioned who were in the low 33s. They can run anybody. It's just, will Bridget decide to avoid a superhero lunge and then save something for the wall balls? That could change things. Because if their time was like 40 seconds faster, if they had a reasonable wall ball right there, suddenly now they're in the 56 high range, and then they're right in the category with Maria and Jess and Seka and Rebecca. So yeah, they might have a slow seed time, but that doesn't mean they won't be in contention for top 3 to 5.
Yeah. Any other dark horses on the women's side?
I think there's a drop off in run ability after that. So my opinion, that's where it ends.
All right, then I'm going to go on record and say it. Dark horses, give me Elena Ruka-Chaz and Morgan Schulz. Listen, they came from the later wave. They came from the later wave in Houston, beat out Katie and Chris. They are training partners. They both live in Chicago. They've been training together. Elena is trained by Pelayo. They have been working on that VO2 running. This is a running race. I'm not saying that they're going to win. I don't know that they're going to podium, but give me a dark horse for a top 5 finish. I think you got to watch out for that team.
Yeah, I actually agree. Yeah. I think, that sleeping in your own bed and being training partners and both focusing on doubles. Like, I don't think that could, it's easy to underestimate
that's the only race that's the other one. That's the only race they're doing that weekend. Elena and Pelayo passed on the mixed doubles. Morgan is a high level athlete. She ran a 52 in the mixed doubles with Alexander Rakovic in Houston that same weekend. The day after, she ran a 58 with Elena. Elena has got this one pegged. This team's got dark horse top 5. Like, they could take the money. All right. I feel like it's no disrespect to our friend Chris, but I do feel like after that, I think we're probably at rest of field territory with the remaining teams. Does anyone disagree?
Just solely based on run ability. Like, all the remaining teams are 35 plus minutes for their run plus rocks, while most of the other teams were in the 31.5 to 33 high range. It's going to be hard to keep up.
Yeah. I feel like, I agree. I think it's going to be I think it's the running at that point.
Yeah.
All right. We did it. That is the women's field. On to the dudes.
You don't want to make official picks?
Oh, okay. We're going to make our official picks. Disclaimer here. Greg is not going to participate as the voice of HYROX, just like Kirk Herbstreit on Saturday afternoon picks, college football. Greg is commentating, so we're not going to make him make picks because I don't want anyone in Greg's DM saying I told you so. Greg is going
to. Uh-oh, Matt froze.
You go first. We'll go top 5 because that's the payouts.
Oh, thanks, buddy. All right. In the win, I am going to take Tia and Joanna. Second place, the Laurens. Third, I'm going Lucy and Sinead. Fourth, Linda and Viola. And fifth, I'm actually going with the Van den Lindenloofs.
All right. I am going to take for the win Tia and Joanna. For second place, Linda and Viola. Third place, the Laurens. Fourth place, the Van den Lindenloofs. And in fifth place, I'm going to take Lucy and Sinead. On to the dudes. 15th, out of Melbourne, Peter Mays, Tom Fransons. 14th, Tengay Cruz, Daniel Payne, second place Melbourne. 13th, Chris Woolley, Tom Rogers, first place Melbourne. 12th, this is crazy, Jeremy McConnell, Dylan Scott, third place Houston. 11th, Marcus Wallace, Dawson Miller, second place Houston. 10th, Yannick Chopla, Tim Vinish, Paris, third place. 9th, Bo Wills, Eugenio Bianchi, second place Paris. 8th, Roberto Viciedo Hiemo, definitely said that wrong. Luis Garcia Rubio, Paris, first place. In 7th, the Sutherland brothers, Miami, third place. 6th, I've never said this name right, Hedy Wiersma and Thierry Wilgenberg, London, third place. 5th, Jake Williamson and Alan Plow, London, second place. 4th, JK and Jake Dearden, first place, Houston. 3rd, Charlie Bottrell, first, and Ollie Russell, first place, London. 2nd, Rylan Shadeg, Ryan Kent, pro doubles, Miami, second place. I don't know why I read it like that. And first place, Rich Ryan, Pelayo Menendez Fernandez, Miami, first place. Let's just go ahead and say what everyone's thinking. The heavy favorites for this race are the Southern. No, I'm just kidding. It's Pelayo and Rich, and it is pretty much the rest of the field.
They're going to remember that. They're going to remember that, Matt.
Of course. Yeah. Rich is going to put it in locker room material. No, I mean, it's Rich. I mean, it's Rich and Pelayo. I think I don't care what anyone says. I don't even really think that this is up for debate. Like they may not win because it is a race after all and anything can happen. But they beat Rylan and Ryan by a minute 20, and they did a time that I don't think that we necessarily thought was feasible for pro doubles maybe this season. And they beat their previous open record by 5 seconds when they did it. These guys are best friends or close to best friends. They're good buddies for sure. They are similar type athletes. Their running is their weapon, which is what makes them scary. They've raced together quite a few times. They both have this race pegged. Rich is actually on record as he turned down the relay so that he could focus on this race. Pelayo did the same thing. He turned down the relay so he could focus on this race. They are both people who are going to run to place in the solos and could win, but they are going to run this race to win. They think that they can win. They're high in confidence. It's hard to find a flaw in their game with a 48-31 that wasn't even that clean. Their lunges were not good. Their transitions were poor, and they still dropped a 48-31. I mean, you just look at cleaning up some of the stations, and like 48 low is not out of the realm of possibility for this team.
The thing that I find that's amazing is Rich and Pelayo in the solo division, they're always starting out conservatively. And it's like, I'm not going out at that pace. You'd be foolish to go out at their pace. You're not going to beat them. If I was in charge of HYROX making that big old novelty check, I would put their name on it right now for the men's field.
I don't disagree. To be honest, people aren't going to like that, but I don't disagree.
Too bad. They're not losing this race.
That's a bold statement with this field. Like when Matt was just going through it there, I was like, this field is so strong. There's no like obvious weakness in it. Obviously, I agree. Like they're favorites. I don't think they're hot favorites.
Pelayo's sleeping in his own bed, and Rich is on fire. He races so much better on U.S. soil. I'm telling
Yeah,
you.
and besides, Rich is coming to the hybrid mecca beforehand. We're gonna get him right. We're gonna get him right. Get him some of that Milwaukee's best. Just kidding.
I think it is interesting that they've essentially, presumably, both turned down relay spots as well, like to run for your country. I don't think you turn that down, lightly, and so they presumably they're taking this very, very seriously. And so, yeah, I think that stands him in good stead in reality.
Rich is going to be padding his bank account this weekend. It's going to be a good weekend for him.
Yeah, Rich is. I think their justification makes sense. Like people don't. There was some chatter online about how do you turn down running for your country, and I get it. Like I understand where they're coming from. Rich's whole thing is like, look, this men's race on Thursday night is going to be late. It's going to probably be 7:30 or 8 by the time it runs. They're going to pump caffeine to do it. They're going to get done around 9 o'clock. Greg, you know better than we do. They have media responsibilities after. They have to do post-race interviews and whatnot. Hopefully, they're going to be top 5 athletes. They're probably going to get drug tested. That takes, we know from the women last year, can take an hour and a half to 2 hours to even be able to pee. And then you still have to do the interviews. A lot of them didn't get out of the venue last year in Nice until well after midnight. You're wired from the race. Rich has been on record as saying that when he races late, some nights he's awake till 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. We know how much the man prioritizes sleep. So you get a bad night's sleep and you got to be back in the venue with everything going on, the stress of the relay. And then it's the same thing. Media responsibilities. You get out of the venue late. Now it's 2 nights of bad sleep. So I get it. I get why they're not doing it. But I also agree, Greg, that I think if you're not doing it, that means that you are putting all of your eggs into this basket. And I think that they're going to want to show up. I will agree with Jack. I think the thing that was impressive about the Miami race was these were their run times, which again, I'm not even going to say have a disclaimer anymore because we know the courses aren't standard. But I'll just do runs 2 through 7 because those in theory are always the same. Runs 2 through 7 in Miami, 311, 314, 312, 314, 312, 309. They were, I agree with Jack for how conservative they run. Like, how many teams do we realistically think in this field can hold? That's a
5:10 pace.
That's a 311 average. How many teams, and this is an honest question that I'm looking for an answer on. How many other teams do we think can keep pace with that?
None. If you add their rocks and run zone, they were 28-24. Rylan and Ryan Kent were 29-15. No other team was 29-43. So they're over 80 seconds faster on their run plus rocks than any other superstar team out there. They're going to win on the run.
If they win, they are going to win on the run. That's gonna for sure be where they do it. The only other teams that I think can run like that are maybe Rylan and Ryan, because we're going to get there. But Kent, this is the only race that Kent's running. He's got it circled. He's doing a ton of VO2 work at altitude. Rylan is back in terms of being able to run, so they could potentially. Courses are not the same. JK and Jake were like 320, 319 in Houston, so they might, but it's still, we're talking, that's still lower. And I don't know if I feel like any other teams have wheels like that.
I mean, Thierry and Hitty have definitely gone out fast. Like they look like they're running powerfully, like ahead.
And they
of the
do that
field.
on run 6 or run 7.
I know, but they seem to like assert themselves on the runs. Their sled push and pull hasn't been fantastic compared to the other teams. Their middle zones with the burpees row and farmers carry are really good, and they're still running. Like if you look at their splits, 304 for their first run after the ski, and then 312, 311, 313, 319, 360. So they're in that 3 low teens. I feel like they could. I just don't think that they're in the same ballpark as Rich and Pelayo.
The other thing is, Rich and Pelayo have done this race a few times together now, whereas you can't say that about all these teams. And I know you said Miami race wasn't perfect, but they're learning all the time. They know how to race with each other. The transitions, how to pace it. Like they've run together more than most of these teams, and I think you learn a lot from doubles by doing that.
To be intellectually honest, we have to there's got to be what would be the what would be their bugaboo? Like what would catch them? What would be the reason they don't win? Other than another worldly performance by a different team. If there was a weakness in the team, what would it be?
Their old age and they feel sore. No, I'm just kidding. I really don't think that they have one. Their zones 2007, only 3 teams in the field had a faster total zone split than them. They're bulletproof, in my opinion.
Super heavy sleds would be my answer if you're going to push me for one. But in doubles that matters a bit less. But Pelayo and Rich aren't the strongest on the sleds in the whole field. So if they were super heavy, then maybe that could catch them out. If other teams have got a big advantage there.
And they'll have the advantage of testing out the sleds in the solo race a couple days before to know, do I need to switch my footwear for this race? I've traveled with Rich before to races, and I've seen him with 3-4 pairs of shoes in his backpack. That guy's going to be prepared.
Yeah, they're at least going to have the advantage of knowing what it feels like coming off the solo. I would say, I think that the thing that could get them is, could we see a Hunter situation from Nice where multiple teams gang up on Pelayo? And when you're a heavy favorite, could we see a situation where multiple of these teams gang up and take turns surging on them? Because if you think okay, they're the odds-on favorite, we've got to make them hurt. Could you see Rylan and Ryan pair up with a JK and a Jake, or let's just go with that England connection, Dearden, Charlie Botchell and Ollie Russell, right? Do they conspire and do they take turns taking it to Rich and Pelayo to make them just work a little bit harder than they want to work to hold the lead, and make them crack? Again, they might be running so fast and be comfortable at that pace that it doesn't matter, but it could happen. So I do think I'm somewhere between Greg and Jack. I'm not ready to put their name on the check. But I think that it is, I think if we were betting favorites here, I think they might be, there was a line, they might be the only team that has minus odds. They might be minus 150. I think they're heavy favorites.
Here's one other stat for you. Skierg, they're split 336, second place split 332. Almost every other team was in the 3 teens or the 320s. If the 2 fastest seeded teams in this race have the slowest ski times, go out slower, guys. You might stand a chance.
Yeah, but I don't think they're gonna do that again. I think if you're JK and Jake and you're Dylan and Jeremy, I think that they paid JK and Jake won, but I think they paid the price for that 3 teens. I don't think that any of those teams do that again.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, if they don't form a gap there on the ski,
I see. Yes,
how are they going to create a gap later on?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, if you ski with them, you can't outrun them. Yeah. So that would play into their hands. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, that is our favorite. Greg, tossing it over to you. Who else is in the who could win category for the men?
I would go with JK and Jake Dearden next. I think they did break the world record before it got taken again by Rich and Pelayo, but JK in the singles division is probably the favorite this year as singles. He's come on a huge amount, and his running in particular is very, very impressive. Coming out the rock zone and everything like that, he's looked incredible. And then partnered with Jake, who I think is better at doubles in reality. If I look at him, he's a big muscular guy. I wouldn't typically think of him as being better at doubles than singles. But he won the pro doubles last year with Mark Dearden, and they beat people like Dylan Megida that day. They beat the Belgian guys, Peter Mays and Tom Fransons. When I spoke to JK, he said Jake was pulling him along a little bit at times, coming into the wall balls, Jake was far ahead of him. So I think Jake is very, very good at doubles. So I think that partnership, like on their day, can be very, very, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
They're not
Go
going
ahead,
to
Jack.
be sitting on a transcontinental or transatlantic flight to do this race also. So they'll be fresher than they were when they did set that record. It's not, I guess they're used to 2 days later doing a race, and I guess they're not even going to have a break because they're on the relay team as well. So it comes down to they're a little bit younger. They're going to have an extra race in the day before while Pelayo and Rich get a full day off. Is that enough to like, are they still going to be able to hang on with that extra fatigue?
Yeah, it's hard to know what any of these guys' training is. And I mean, Dearden doesn't seem to be phased by anything. This is the same guy that ran the Cape Town Marathon and then flew back and then qualified for the Elite 15 less than 2 weeks later. And we thought that there was no way that was possible. And he proved that it was. So volume is not a problem for him. He did just run, presumably in the middle of training, because I doubt he tapered for it. He did just run the Manchester 10K, which, Greg, I don't know if you have any insight as to if that's a particularly fast 10K or if it's hilly or not, but he did just run a 10K in 32:55. Again, presumably not tapered. And JK said the same thing to me in person after the Houston race, that Jake was pulling him along. I mean, actually, they almost got in trouble because if you all recall, Jake came in and was like at the wall balls and they were holding him up because JK basically used like all of the allotted time to like get in and be ready to go. So, you know, Jake can run. I think, Jack, you said it, there's no transatlantic flight for JK, and, volume's not going to be a problem for JK. I mean, like I said, he's, also first proven athlete on the male side, has been in the States since mid-April with this weekend circled, just training his ass off. So I mean, I do agree with Greg. It's hard to count this team out. I think that although I do believe that Rich and Pelayo are heavy favorites, I don't think that they're going to win by a minute and a half. I think that this will likely come down to wall ball. So we said 10 over under for the women.
20.
20. You think? Okay. So Jack says the over under is 20.
Roughly. Yeah.
Okay. So Jack says 20 wall balls. Greg, over under 20 wall balls when it comes down to it.
Under.
I think it's gonna be under 2. I think it's gonna be close, because I think that the difference is that in that men's race, it was basically just, in the Miami race, it was incredibly impressive. It was just 2 teams. I think that there are going to be 5, 6, 7 teams that are going to just be trading blows throughout this race. You're not going to have separation. You're going to feel pressure somewhere. So, any other thoughts on JK and Jake? Anything we didn't mention? All right, Jack, team that could win. Any other teams you think can win?
None.
Wow.
Let's skip to the podiums, but I do not think any team is beating Rich and Pelayo. I'm just not even going to waste anyone's time.
All right. Well, I think that there's one more team that I think could win, and I think that team is the team of Rylan Shadag and Ryan Kent. Heavy disclaimer, Ryan Kent is a personal friend of mine and my coach, so I do have to throw that out there. However, being objective, I think that this team is dangerous. They had the world. They were, if it wasn't for Rich and Pelayo, that was one of the most impressive races that we've ever seen in a doubles race. It's the second fastest race of all time, although I think it just got beat by Tiago and Ronk in Berlin with an asterisk. But Greg liked that one. This is the only race that Kent's racing. Kent is at altitude right now. He's training. He's doing a training camp. He's doing VO2 max work. Rylan is pretty much back to fitness, according to himself. They did not run a clean race. I don't know that had they run a perfectly clean race, I don't think they would have beat Rich and Pelayo on that day. I think that was Rich and Pelayo's day no matter what. So I'm not going to take anything away from that. But I would say that they have they're probably the last team that I think can win. And I think that is probably in that order. I think it's probably Rich and Pelayo, JK and Jake, and then Ryan and Rylan. But if there are teams trading moves and blows with with Rich and Pelayo, and it costs them they slip it all. It's just hard. It's hard to bet against these two because they both have that top end ability. Greg, any thoughts?
Yeah.
We're not gonna let Jack speak on this team because he discounted them.
I was going to compliment them. I was going to compliment them on one thing. And Greg, let me have this. So if we go back to November 2023, that's Chicago. There was a major there. Number 1, Ryan Kent. Number 2, Ryland Shattuck. They know how to run fast in this venue. No two venues are the same. It could change for all we know once we get to Chicago for World Championships. But they've got a track record here. When they can open up, they run fast.
Greg.
All I was going to add was like their sort of room for improvement in their fitness between that Miami race and the World Champs is far bigger than it is for like Rich and Pelayo. I think like Ryland sounds like he's getting healthier by the day. Like his throat is becoming less and less of a problem. It's more just like his pure fitness that he's working on now. And Ryan Kent's obviously had some like troubles in that over the past year. He's not been at his best for a few reasons, obviously, but I think that their potential for improvement of those two between Miami and Chicago is far greater. And so if they've managed to do that and continue to build, then I think they can certainly be much closer than like the 1 minute 20 that they were behind Rich and Pelayo.
And you kind of alluded to it, Jack. Kent loves this Chicago course. Kent has raced this Chicago course 4 times. He's won it twice on the elite side. He's gotten second once. And then the only time he didn't podium in Chicago was the notorious Chicago. Yeah, that Chicago race where they came back from, they all came back from focusing on Deca, and he went out hot with Sandy, and they both, I think, blew up on the sled pull. But that's the only time he hasn't taken a 1 or a 2 in Chicago. So he likes this.
Took down Hunter in that surprise race. Yeah. Kent did do like a 17 flat Deca mile recently. He's got to be feeling good. I know his confidence has kind of been something that's been bothering him. I don't like that he's DNF'd a couple races this year in his comeback trail, but I'm friends with the guy. I know that he's locked in. And since this is his only race of the year, he is just, this team style race is right up his alley. They're going to be dangerous. I'm putting him on the podium for sure.
Yeah. And I think like to that point, he's even mentioned like he can't quit on Ryland. It's like one thing to DNF on yourself, but you can't, like when you're racing with someone else who's giving everything they can, I think that gives you the power to keep going. So I agree. I think unlike the women's field, I think that the who can win, I think it probably stops there. I think we all are in agreement. It looks like based on faces, unless Greg or any UK boys that you want to put in there.
And I wouldn't necessarily back them to win, but there's 2 teams that I think are worth mentioning next. So I would say I'll start with the Spanish guys in like that won in Paris, Roberto Vicier del Gumeno, Luis Garcia Rubio. Like
Greg showing my dumb American self how it's done. That's the voice of HYROX, baby.
Like they surprised everyone in Paris. They were in a later wave, by which time the track was far busier than the guys had, because they were out first like at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning with an empty track, everyone else. So they ran on a busier track. They, against an incredibly strong field, they won. The young lads, like I think Roberto was the 16 to 24 age group world champion last year, and then Louis was second. But yeah, very, very fast time, like surprising really when they weren't in a race necessarily. So I think
50-27 is still crazy.
Yeah. And
solo.
One thing of note is their wall ball time. Actually, I think it was 3:05 in Paris, which for guys,
that possible?
I don't know. But I was like, how is that possible? And I remember
it's got to be unbroken, because I don't even know that I think a transition would take too much time.
Yeah, it must. Yeah, it must be unbroken. And then I was like, this must be some freak thing like with the chip or something in Paris. But I looked at Malaga, which they'd done not that long before, and it was like 3:07 or something. So it was crazy. And they beat John. I think John and Graham were second fastest wall ball in Paris, and that was like 3:13. And then, but most teams were like 30 seconds behind that. So if they're in contention at the wall balls, they could do it.
Yeah, I like that pick. It's also crazy. I'm just sitting here looking at this. The top 10 teams, actually the top 11 teams, are all under 51 minutes. This race is going to be fast. If you blink, you might miss it. Like, it is going to be insane. This race actually might be, dare I say, the one that I'm most excited for the weekend, because it's just you are going to see 20 dudes, 20 big dudes, because a lot of these guys are, like you said about Jake Dearden, are big boys running fast and smashing stations like we haven't seen before. Like, this is going to be a great race. I like that pick. Greg, I definitely think, I don't even know that I would have necessarily put them here, but after kind of hearing your case for it, I mean, to be able to run a 50-27 in wall ball and 304 is nuts.
Yeah.
Jack, you have any other thoughts on the Spanish team?
I mean, now they're going to get the opportunity to go side by side against these other teams. Like, we saw what they did in a time trial format coming from a later heat. Realistically, like, you don't accidentally beat Bo and Eugenio or Yannick and Tim. Like, that Paris race was disgustingly deep. Now they're going to have a chance to prove how good they are. But if you look at their total zone times or their workout stations, they have the third fastest in the field, but their run was only 30-40. I think that to me, maybe some of that had to deal with weaving in and out of traffic because they were in like a later wave. So maybe they're 30 low at that point if they're on a clear course. But I think their running might be the thing that holds them back, but they're monsters on the zones.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I'm going to shock people here with this one, and Jack's going to disagree because we already argued about this once. But I think podium threat, give me Jake Williamson and Alan Plow. And I think that Jake Williamson was made for doubles. He has done well in singles. He's got some 56 highs. He's got some good times. This is no disrespect to that. But he kind of put himself on the map last year when Sandy picked him for Team Great Britain or Team UK.
England.
I guess England. Yeah, you're right. To be Team England, because it was not the UK, because Scotland's its own team. No disrespect to the Scots or the Irish for that matter. But he flew and he hammered the ergs. And that should have been the moment that we realized that this guy was built for these types of fast races. And again, Jack hates this argument because they didn't win, and I get it, but they had the sled pull snafu, they had the farmer's carry snafu, and they had some very questionable no reps. I agree with them on this. They had some very questionable no reps on the wall balls, and they only lost to Charlie and Ollie by 4 seconds. Yes, they lost. Full stop. They lost the race. But there was maybe 45 seconds of time that they lost in all of that between the sled pull, the farmers, and the no reps. I think this team is scary. Jake is all in on this. He's got this circled. Alan Plow can run. Wasn't Alan the age group world champion last year in the solos? If he wasn't, he was pretty close. But I think that this team is one that you have to watch out for, and they're built for this. And again, their 50.06 in a London course that wasn't particularly fast is only, like I said, 4 seconds off the time that Charlie and Ollie threw down, 2 seconds off the time that JK and Jake threw down. Again, I know that it's different, but I got to think this is probably the only race that they're doing. I don't know if Alan will choose to race solos or not. And I don't know if Jake will choose to race solos or not. But if they mark this race, if this is one that they circle, they're going to be a problem for people in this race. And I'm going back and looking because they've raced a lot. Alan took, he took 10th overall. I think he podiumed his age group though.
Yeah,
thoughts on the Jake?
Third in age group he was.
Yeah, this is one of those rare times, Matt. I don't necessarily buy into the who won the head-to-head for the reasons you mentioned. They had some course discrepancies essentially, and 4 seconds with all those issues, they're basically they could have won easily. So yeah, they've easily got a shot at the podium.
Yeah, and I don't think you said it, Matt, but like just to support your argument, Jake being suited to doubles, he's just done the open world record in the doubles in Berlin, along with Fabi Eisenhower. So yeah, he's clearly very suited to this type of racing.
All right, I've got another stat for you. Looking at all of their sled pulls, they went 159. What do you think the second fastest on any of the 5 courses was for anybody in the field? Sled pull, sorry.
221.
234. So they were 35 seconds faster on one single zone than the rest of the field. That's
and they had the snafu.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And then their run following that was a 316. Pelayo and Rich went 311 on their next run after the sled pull, so they can absorb it.
Well, let me ask you this. Is it possible, because they got pretty far out, is it possible that they crossed the timing chip and then had to come back and finish?
That could be it, because their run time,
because their rock zone could be their rock zone would be a little bit longer. Now, that being said, if they left at 159, they only had to do a couple pulls when they got back in. So you're realistically looking at, but they're still 20. That's still 20 seconds faster than the field.
That's a weapon right there.
Yeah.
And obviously the ergs, as you mentioned, it's like, will they go out at 313 for their ski again? Hopefully not. That doesn't seem like the best idea. But if you're a monster on the ergs and it doesn't destroy you like it would other teams, like maybe you try to buy a few seconds there.
All right. Other podium threats. This is tough because, again, we got 11 teams under 51, so they all technically have an argument for a podium. This is going to be mad. This is going to be madness.
Just on that point, before I name someone, like you're under 51 is like, if you include Melbourne, looks slow, basically. So you got Tom Fransons and Peter Mays, I think, finished in 53, but they also ran in London and they did like 51 in London. So they're capable of doing like a 51 sort of time, and they finished third in Melbourne in 53. So I think there's even more guys capable of doing a 51 than the 11 that you see.
Yep.
Yeah, this might be a bold statement, but I don't even know that I would peg any of these teams as rest of field. Because this is going to be, I think we're talking podiums and their best guesses, and I think we're talking dark horses, but I do think that there will be, similarly how we talked about in the men's solo race, there's going to be carnage because there's going to be 7 to 8 guys that go out hot. There are 50, as Greg just pointed out, there are 15 teams here that can run sub 51. So if there's 15 teams that can run sub 51, that means all 15 teams are going to be in the wall balls together. Even if Pelayo and Rich are heavy favorites and they're at 100, everyone else is at least 50. Like, I mean, this is going to be a monster of a race that you're not going to want to miss. And it's hard to really say like what happens whenever, because again, they've in most of these races, with the exception of Paris, the rest of the races, I think it's fair to say outside of Paris, we're not very deep beyond the top 3. There were some close finishes with 4th and 5th for sure, but like Paris had like 14 teams that were a threat, and that we saw the carnage happen in that race. And now you've got the 15 fastest teams in the world. Like, this is going to be gnarly.
Yeah. Last time in Nice, 52-34, that won overall. That probably will finish a minute behind last place in this race.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Especially because there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for that 5th, for that paycheck.
So, now if we're looking at course, where do you think the bottleneck's going to happen? I know that it's kind of been said that it's a race to the rower, because like you can get a little bit of a rest there finally. And I just see all those turnarounds on burpee broad jumps. If it's not a straightaway, although now that I'm thinking of it, I ran in Chicago, I think it is a straightaway. If you have
that's a question for Greg. Greg, do you have any insight? Is it going to be grid or is it going to be the normal course?
Oh, I think I don't know. To be honest, I don't know yet. My assumption is grid for these elite races.
Only for the
I would think they'd want it for. I think they'd want it for the viewing experience. I think it'd be too hard to do a live stream of a non-grid, because if I remember correctly, well, I guess they didn't do grid for Nice, did they? They did grid for the sleds, but then everything else was the normal stations, now that I think about it. And that was the same thing for the relay. So maybe not. I guess there's not really a precedent for this. Right? Because that's right, because they didn't have a grid format for Nice. The sleds were in the same spot. Push and pull was on the same carpet, but then they did the U shape for the burpees. Rowers was 2 stations down. Because I remember it was actually kind of a viewing problem, because like Meg was so far ahead that you were having to look in different areas to like see where all the people were. So I guess I don't know. I guess that Jack, that's a good point. It depends on how they set it up.
If it's a grid, that won't be a factor. But
yeah. But yeah, the burpees are straight in Chicago, although I think it's in a different hall. I don't think it's in that one it's historically been in. Probably because I don't know where they would put stands in that hall. All right, before we get too far down that rabbit hole, any other podium threat teams? There's one that's I'll give one to the UK boys. Charlie Bottrell and Ollie Russell are other people who they can flat out run. Charlie came over, and granted it was open. He only lost to Dylan Scott by I think like 10 seconds. And he also beat Dylan in the doubles that weekend. He can flat out fly. So can Ollie. I don't know Charlie Bottrell races 9 times a weekend, so he's not going to be phased if he decides to do multiple races. But a 50.02 is nothing to sneeze at, especially again on that London course. So that's a team that I think, I think the question for them would be, will they be phased by the pressure? It's a world championship, and there's a lot of big names on that start line. I don't know, but if they're not, they're gonna definitely be in there.
Yeah, and I think they've been very focused on this for a while. Like, I think they've both been realistic in it. That I don't think they felt that they were quite capable of qualifying for the singles, the Elite 15 singles this year. Like they were at the last chance qualifier. But I don't think they truly believed that was their main goal. Like I think the doubles has been their main goal for some time, and I think like they're now purely training for that. So I think that can be a benefit. And yeah, I think it. My gut feel is it does suit Charlie a little bit better as well, doubles in general. So yeah, I do think they're a threat after winning that race, like a stacked field in London in that time. I do think they're a threat. And yeah, like some of their stations, like Ollie on the lunges is very, very, very good. So they can certainly do it. Yeah.
My only thought, and that lunge thing right there, 204, that's the best in the field. They are the best at the stations that matter the least in terms of shakeup. They're the fastest skiers, they're the fastest on the row, fastest farmers. It's like they're crushing those, but they need to be better on burpees. They need to be better on wall balls. And I think that could be the difference between getting that 3rd spot and finishing 6th or 7th.
Anybody else want to go out on a limb and put any other teams?
Let's not forget Hitty and Thierry. They lost almost 20 seconds on the wall balls. They would have won that race if they didn't fall apart.
I don't want to be that guy, but that would be the question mark.
It's a trend, Hitty, though. It's happened.
It's a trend. It keeps happening. And in a race where it's going to come down likely to the wall balls for podium positions, is he going to overcome it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, you look at them, they're that time alone tells you that they're a threat.
But I think he got 2nd place in Barcelona. He took down every single person who was trying to get those final 3 spaces for World Championship. He's got to feel really confident, and I guarantee you he's been improving his wall balls now that he's in the Elite 15. Like he can't let that be a weakness anymore.
But it's going to be his 2nd race, maybe 3rd.
Is
he racing the relay?
He's the captain. Yeah.
He's the captain.
The thing that makes me nervous for that is if wall balls are your weakness, just fresh,
getting down is going to be tough.
3rd race of the weekend, that is probably one of the hardest positions to get into. And we saw that he had no rep challenges when he was tired in the LCQ. again, no disrespect, 50:07 is a flying time, and just based on the time alone, but the third race of the weekend, that is a hard station for that to be your weakness in a race where it's going to come down to likely that station.
Yeah.
Anybody want to put anybody else in podium contention?
I mean, there are so many good teams that we haven't mentioned. Like we're just running out of time at this point.
I know.
That's the thing. Initially, you were like, let's only talk about the top 5 fastest. It's like, are you kidding me? Look at all these other teams.
I know. I think honorable mention I like for the same reason I like the Van den Lindenloofs. I like the Sutherlands brothers. They're, they've done this. I think they've got this one pegged as the race that they're going for. They came over in Miami and did really well. Bo actually made the interesting choice to he's going to be the captain of the New Zealand team, but he's not going to participate. He's going to operate as a coach. So he, has kind of marked this. That tells me that he's marked this as a race that he thinks that he can succeed in. We know Eugenio's got wheels. We know he can run, and we know, and Bo's ascending. And their stations are strong. So that's a team. I mean, I don't know if either one of you want to comment on that team, but I think that's a team that sticks out that is going to be problematic for people.
So they crossed the line thinking that they won. Only Luis and Roberto later in the day ended up beating them, but they still took down many teams with
13 teams that were
solo credential. Yeah, like they might be the best team from Europe or from that Paris race. I think James and Jake are probably better, but yeah, they're going to be a threat.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised by their performance, I must admit, in Paris. I don't think of Bo as being like ideal for doubles in reality. Like it's his stations that is strong point and not necessarily his running. But I think that Paris race was a sign of how far his running has come on.
And he's got that Nike. He's got that Nike sponsorship. He's gonna be in those Alpha Flies, dude.
Vapor Flies, I think. I think he's in the Vapor Flies. Yeah. So and then like you say, Eugenio's got wheels, and like they on the burpees, they absolutely flew through those burpees.
140,
yeah.
The thing that surprises me, Bo is known as a closer. You don't want him near you for lunges and wall balls. The two of them actually had a bottom 3 wall balls and 5th worst lunges. So you think of them as closers, but it didn't actually go out that way. So maybe they just like tapped out or they maxed out on how fast they could possibly run, and they just weren't able to use their typical weapon the end of the race to their advantage because they were just running so hard during that race.
Yeah, that would be the question I would have for this team. Is I think that you are going to have to run somewhere between 48:30 and 49:15 to win this race. And I think you are going to have to be below 49:45 to be on the podium, would be my guess. Can they get another 45 seconds to a minute? I think would be the question. I think that you both already called it out. Do they have that top end speed? I don't know. The other team that is interesting to me would be Tim Vinish and Yannick Chopla. Tim held the world record with Sandy for a long time before Pelayo and Rich took it in the Open. We know Tim has top end speed. I believe Yannick has top end speed too. Yannick did not make the Elite 15 singles race, so he's probably got this one circled. So that would be a team to watch out for. Greg, I know you know Tim pretty well, and I would imagine you know Yannick decently well as well. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that pairing.
No, I mean they're both in the German relay team the day before, but like you say, Tim is very, very fast. I think he looked at least in the early stages of that race like he was pulling Yannick round a little bit on the runs for sure. But no, they are very, very quick. Like Yannick is still a very, very quick runner. I think he'd done a 2:30 Berlin Marathon maybe. And he's good on the stations. I think Tim is in very good form, like throughout this season in reality, and just seems to be getting better and better. So yeah, I think they're tough to overlook, but that was they finished third in Paris, but no, they've got the credentials to do it. I think
they certainly won't be trying to close on people if they're going out of Tim's typical strategy. They'll be going out hard from the beginning.
Yeah, no doubt. Dark horse pick for me for a top 5. People are gonna say I'm a homer. I don't give a shit. Give me Raw Debo for a top 5 finish. Marcus Wallace, Dawson Miller. I'm pulling out my crystal ball. They're finishing top 5. Take it to the bank. When we saw them race in Houston, look, BK and I knew. We've been out here trying to tell people. They didn't want to listen, but then the world saw what happens when a Raw Debo hits the course. I think the thing for them is that this is another team where they have gone all in on this doubles race. They, at the time, Marcus had just recently, gotten into Elite 15 roll down in Vegas and was still training for solos. Dawson has foregone the solo racing for the spring season and has put it on the back burner. Marcus did the same thing after this. Marcus is looking lean. They're out of the track together. They're working on their VO2 speed. They're doing a lot of interval sessions together. And look, I know that people aren't going to believe me when I say this because they're going to think I'm a homer, but Dawson Miller is one of the best runners in this field. He doesn't get that credit because he doesn't have the pedigree from an Elite 15 solo perspective that Rich and Pelayo do, but he's an NCAA champion in the steeplechase, and the guy has wheels, and he never looked like he was struggling in that Houston race. He was, Debo, I love you, and I know you're going to listen to this. Dawson was pulling Marcus along, and I don't think that that's going to be the case come this race because Marcus has been focused on this race for the last 3 months now and will be ready to go to be able to run those paces. They train together. They know each other's strengths. They know each other's weaknesses. That was a pretty, big race. I don't think people even had them on the podium in that race. And that was it's a strong time. I'm just saying, don't count the Scotty boys out. They also might be sleeping in their own bed. Actually, there's probably no reason they don't sleep in their own bed.
No. Marcus is definitely redeeming some points for a very, very nice hotel. He's going to be sleeping probably better than his normal bed.
Yeah, getting away from the kids. I'm just telling you, watch out for Raw Debo. People are gonna see them at that 11th seed and think that they're not gonna be a factor. They're gonna be a factor.
The thing with them is they finished 52 seconds behind James and Jake, who we're assuming are going to improve their time. So, let's say James and Jake run 49 flat. Suddenly that puts Marcus and Dawson sub 50 potentially. Like, they're definitely going to be in the mix.
Yeah, and to your point earlier, their ski, they actually took it fairly conservative compared to everyone else. They skied 326. So if people cool it a little bit and they come out of those 3 teens, like, they can run. They made their move. They hammered the sled pull in 238. Then they hammered the burpees. They hammered the row. I just think that
they weren't good on burpees. They went 212. That was slow for by far the slowest in the field by almost 15 seconds.
But they were able to, I think that they're going to be able to put a move into the sleds because I think that Marcus is one of the strongest, just by himself, is one of the strongest sled pull athletes. And I don't think they're going to have to push it at the burpees because I think that they may have a little bit of, we'll see. It'll be interesting. I don't know if they'll have a gap or not, but I think that they might be able to recover a little bit there. And they're very strong on the row. People actually forget in that race, Dawson got tripped up. His foot got stuck in the row. He fell back and hit his head. If they work on those transitions, I think that they'll be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Any other teams that we want to call out?
I mean, Dylan and Jeremy haven't been mentioned, but they were right there. They got that harder in third spot in Houston, clean up the wall balls a little bit. It was actually their middle zones where they were struggling a little bit on the row and farmers. I was a little surprised with that, but who knows? Dylan, he could they could win the thing. They could get 15th.
Well, the volume's
unpredictable.
not gonna be a problem. Solo race or real. I mean, Dylan's gonna probably do 2 workouts before the relay race on Friday, and he'll probably the elite doubles will probably be his 3rd workout of the day on Saturday, if I had to guess. I think that is a strong team. If I had to point out a flaw, so to speak, and I think that Dylan would even agree with this, is my question is, does Dylan have the top end speed to be in that top 5? Like, does he have the giddy up to put them in contention? Because that was the problem in Houston, is that many of the runs, Jeremy was quite a bit ahead of Dylan on the runs. And I'll be interested to see how, I wonder if they'll police that a little bit more in the race.
I'm very surprised. I didn't know that Jeremy has not run a solo pro.
Dude, he's like a team specialist.
I know. Yeah. I didn't know that he didn't have a single result for that.
He's done quite a few races with IFA, correct?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know if he had some injuries towards the start of the season and then never quite felt like he could go pro in the time like he felt he was capable of, and so he's held off and just focused on doubles this year. I think eventually we will see him do a pro, but I think he's only going to do that when he knows like he can put down a time that he thinks he's capable of. Yeah.
Kind of like Tia. We'll see her eventually.
Yeah.
All right. Matt, let's make our picks. I went first last time.
Top 5. Man, this is brutal. In 5th place, give me Raw Debo, Marcus Wallace, Dawson Miller. In 4th, Jake Williamson, Alan Plow. In 3rd, Rylan Shadag, Ryan Kent. In 2nd, James Kelly, Jake Dearden. And in 1st place, Rich Ryan and Pelayo Fernandez. Top 5. Jack.
All right. Number 5, I'm going the Sutherland brothers. Number 4, Bo and Eugenio. Number 3, James Kelly, Jake Dearden. 2nd place, Rylan and Ryan Kent. And 1st place, winning by greater than 20 wall balls, Rich Ryan and Pelayo.
All right. We did it. Elite 15 doubles preview. This might take you 2 zone 2 runs to complete. Might take you 3, depending on what your volume's at right now. Greg, we are so appreciative of you joining for this. Do us a favor. Go to rockslife.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Give them a follow on Instagram. They're putting out great content, great interviews. Podcast is fantastic. Wealth of content and knowledge over there. As always, appreciate the voice of HYROX. Jack, the statistician. If you just want cold, hard facts, we don't care about feelings over here at Race Brain. If you just want to know the truth, Jack Bauer, getting you right with all your stats. Greg, Jack, any final thoughts?
I'm pumped to see you guys pretty soon.
Yeah, we're going to have to get together. Greg, you're going to go to the after party?
Probably.
Greg, we're gonna. I don't know if you're a beer guy or not, but we'll have to get a beer. If you're not a beer guy, we'll get a coffee. We'll have to hang out in Chicago, show you around. Do us a favor, like and subscribe to the YouTube, like and subscribe on Spotify. We got a newsletter. We're putting out so much content here at Race Brain. Go ahead and give us a like.
Media. Check out some of the articles. Got everything you need there.
Any other thoughts, gentlemen?
We're probably going to be dead wrong in our predictions, but at least
that goes without saying. It goes without saying. Greg, any final thoughts?
It's just like going through those there is just like so hard to call. Like it's even hard to call than the singles races. So I think it's like very, very exciting. Like the racing should be so good and like really go down to the wire. Yeah, can't wait.
If you listen to this and you think that we're idiots, that means we did our job. That means we properly made you all mad, which is definitely the goal. All right. Appreciate you all. We're out.